He told everyone he was straight. Then he showed up at my door at 2 a.m. and he was crying. I want you to stay with me for this one because this is not a story about a happy ending. It's not a coming out video. It's not a love story, or at least not a simple one. It's the story of the two most confusing years of my life and the one person who made me question everything I thought I understood about love, loyalty, and what it means when someone says they are straight and then kisses you first. His name was Daniel. We met in our second year of university. He was a loud one in every room. The guy who knew everyone's name, remembered your birthday, could make a funeral feel like a house party. And I was his best friend, his person. For 3 years, I was his person. And I was in love with him. Quietly, privately, the way you learn to be in love with someone when you are almost certain they will never love you back. You fold it up small, you put it somewhere safe, you become the best friend in the world, and you tell yourself that's enough. Until the night he knocked at my door at 2 a.m. and everything I had folded up came undone. Before I tell you what happened that night, I need to tell you who Daniel was. Because if you're going to understand any of this, you need to understand him first. Daniel was 6'1", played rugby on weekends, had a laugh, like something cracking open. He had dated two girls in the time I had known him. Emma for 8 months, then Sophia for almost a year. He talked about women openly, casually, the way straight men do. He wasn't complicated about it. He wasn't performing it. He just was what he said he was. Except there were these moments, these small, unremarkable moments that I kept in a drawer in my mind because I didn't know what to do with them. The time he reached across the sofa at 1 a.m. when we were watching something neither of us were paying attention to anymore and just held my hand. Didn't say anything, didn't look at me, just held it for maybe 4 minutes. Then let go. The time he told me I was the most important person in his life. Not the way friends say it. Slowly looking right at me like he was confessing something. I put those moments in the drawer. I closed it because opening it felt like a trap I was building for myself. If you're gay and you love your straight best friend, the most dangerous thing you can do is start collecting evidence. By our third year, the drawer was getting heavy. Daniel had broken up with Sophia in October. He wasn't devastated, more relieved, he said. He started spending more time at mine. Whole weekends. We would cook, watch films, do nothing together with the kind of ease that takes years to build. My flatmate started calling him my husband. I laughed every time. So did he. But his laugh was a half second behind mine. There was a night in November when we were both a few drinks in, and he said, out of nowhere, "Do you ever think about what your life would look like if you had been straight?" And I looked at him and I said honestly, "Not really. Do you?" And he didn't answer. He just changed the subject and poured another drink. I put that in the drawer too. I started pulling back a little after that. Not obviously, but I knew what was happening to me. I knew that every hour I spent next to this man was making it harder to imagine being without him. And I couldn't tell if what I was doing was protecting myself or just delaying the damage. But I started spending more weekends away, seeing other people, going on apps, trying to remember that the whole world wasn't 6'1" with a cracked open laugh. That's when he noticed, and that's when things shifted. 2 weeks before the 2 a.m. knock, we had an argument. Our first one. Danny had tested me 4 times on a Saturday. I had decided to spend time with someone I met on an app. A perfectly lovely guy named Marcus, who made me laugh and didn't make me feel anything complicated at all. I hadn't replied until evening. When I did, Daniel's response was cold. One word answers. Something was wrong. When I called him, he said he was fine. When I saw him 2 days later, he clearly wasn't. He was shorter with me, distracted. He kept looking at his phone. I asked him directly, "Are you actually angry at me right now?" And he said, "And I will remember this forever. I don't know what I am. Not, I am not angry. Not, I am just tired. I don't know what I am." I went home that night and sat with that sentence for a long time. And I did the thing I had promised myself I wouldn't do. I opened the drawer. I looked at everything inside. The hand holding, the confession, the question about being straight, the jealousy that had no sensible explanation. And I let myself, just for one night, think the thought I had been refusing for 3 years. What if he knows exactly what he is and it terrifies him? I closed the drawer, went to sleep. 2 weeks passed, and then he knocked on my door at 2 a.m. He had been crying. His eyes were red and he smelled faintly of whiskey, not drunk, but like someone who had had enough to do something they had been putting off. I let him in. We sat on my kitchen floor because that is where we always ended when some things were serious. I didn't know how that started, but it did. Backs against the cabinet, knees up. For a while, he didn't say anything. I didn't ask. I had learned not to pull things out of Daniel. You had to wait for him to arrive at it himself. Then he said, "I can't stop thinking about you." I waited. My whole body was completely still. Like, all the time, when you were with that guy, when you don't reply, when I see you laugh at something I didn't say. I can't stop thinking about you. And I don't know what that means. And it's been like this for over a year. And I don't know what I am. There it was again. The sentence from 2 weeks ago. I don't know what I am. I looked at him. He looked at me. And then he leaned forward. And then he kissed me. Gently, briefly, like asking a question. And I kissed him back. Because I was 3 years past the point of pretending I wouldn't. In films, the morning after this moment is soft. Golden light, someone makes coffee, hands touch. The credits don't roll yet, but you feel them coming. Our morning was not that. I woke up and Daniel was already on the other side of the room, seated in the chair, fully dressed, looking at his hands. When he saw me, something crossed his face, something I had never seen there before. Not regret, exactly, more like vertigo, like someone looking down from a height they didn't know they had climbed to. He said, "I need to think." I said, "Okay." He left 20 minutes later. He texted me 2 hours after that. Last night was real. I am just not ready to know what it means yet. Please don't disappear on me. And here is the part of the story that I want you, especially if you have been here, to really hear. I texted back, "I won't," because I meant it. But I also need to tell you that saying that was one of the most unwise things I have ever done for myself, because what I was really agreeing to was to be in a waiting room with no chairs, no windows, and no information about how long I would be there. And I said yes to that because it was Daniel. What followed was 6 weeks of the most disorienting experience of my life. And I said that as someone who came out at 17 in a house where that did not go smoothly. Daniel and I existed in this strange in between. We still spent time together. We still talked every day. Sometimes he would reach out and hold my face and look at me like I was the answer to a question he hadn't figured out yet. And sometimes we would be sitting in the same room and he would be completely elsewhere, like he built a wall in the night and forgotten to tell me. I did not handle this gracefully. I want to be honest about that. There were nights I was angry, nights I felt like a placeholder, nights I thought, you knocked on my door, you kissed me. I didn't ask you to open this. And then I would feel guilty for that anger because I knew he was genuinely struggling. That this wasn't cruelty, it was someone cracking open in real time and having no map. But here's what nobody talks about. The thing that I think a lot of us in this specific situation know and never say out loud. There is a particular kind of loneliness in loving someone who is still figuring out if they can love you back. It's not clean. It doesn't have a name. You can't grieve it because nothing is officially over. You can't celebrate it because nothing is officially begun. You are just suspended. And you're doing it alone. Because who do you even tell? Hey, my straight best friend kissed me. He might be gay. I don't know. We are not together. But we are not together. Please advise. 6 weeks in, Daniel asked me to meet him, not at mine or his, at the coffee place near campus where we had spent about 100 Sunday mornings. Neutral ground. That told me something. He sat across from me and he looked like someone who had made a decision and hated it. He had said that he had been seeing a therapist. He said he had been doing a lot of thinking, more than he had done about anything in his life. He said that what he felt for me was real and he wasn't going to try to explain it away or call it something it wasn't. He said he knew that he loved me, and then he said the sentence I will carry for the rest of my life. But I don't know how to be this person, and I'm afraid that trying with you, while I'm still figuring out if I can be him at all, I will destroy you, and I can't do that to you. He wasn't choosing a woman. He wasn't going back to performing straightness. He was choosing not to bring me into his uncertainty as a passenger. He was choosing to figure himself out before he asked me to wait. I want to tell you, I was gracious about it. I wasn't. I cried in a coffee shop for the first time in my adult life, but I also understood. I hated that I understood, but I did. It's been 2 years since that coffee shop. Daniel and I are still in each other's lives. It's different. The architecture shifted. There are rooms in our friendship we don't go into. But it's still him, and he's still doing the work. Slowly, privately, in his own way. And here is what I want to say to anyone watching this, who is living inside a version of this story right now. You are not imagining it. The moments are real. The feelings are real. Yours and his. The fact that he can't act on them or doesn't have the language for them yet does not make what you felt a delusion or a mistake. But you cannot pour yourself into someone else's becoming. You cannot put your own life in a waiting room For someone who hasn't bought a ticket yet, you are allowed to love him and also to say, I need more than this. Even if more than this isn't something you can give me right now. The most loving thing I did for both of us was learning to hold that at the same time. That he was real and that I deserved something that didn't cost me myself. That took me a long time to learn. I hope it takes you less. There's one more thing, the last thing. About 4 months ago, Daniel texted me at midnight. Not 2 a.m. this time, just midnight. It said, I told someone about you, about us. What it was. First time I have said it aloud to anyone. Thought you should know. I stared at that message for a long time and then I wrote back. How did it feel? He said, like putting something down I had been carrying too long. I don't know what his story looks like from the inside. I don't know where it goes, but I know it is his to tell, in his own time, on his own terms. And I know that for one winter, we were the most honest either of us had ever been with another person, even when it was messy, even when it hurt, even when there was no clean ending. Especially then. If you have ever loved someone who didn't have the language for what they felt, you know exactly what the story is. You know the weight of that drawer, and I want to hear from you. Because one of the most isolating things about this kind of love is thinking you are the only one who has ever lived inside it. Drop a comment below, even just a single word, something like the drawer. If you know, you know. Let's make this comment section the place where all the people who have carried this quietly finally get to say it out aloud. Have you ever been in Daniel's position or mine? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. If this story hits you somewhere real, subscribe. I post new stories every week. And if there's a story of yours you want to be told, send it to me. This channel exists because of you.